Let us begin, and I therefore call on the First Speaker of the Government.
Ladies and gentlemen, in any moment of decision, the best thing that you can do is the right thing. The worst thing that you can do is you can do nothing. We believe that for the European Union, what will really mean something right now is if we consider that a win for Merkel, a third win for Merkel, is also a win for the European Union. Before I go on to our argumentation, I'm going to have a bit of a playground. I'm going to describe what we consider a win, and after that I'll go on to our arguments. First of all, Merkel. She's the Chancellor of Germany. She has already been elected a third time in this function, and she is considered a de facto leader of the European Union, kind of like a leader from the shadows. What we on Team Proposition consider as a win is we consider an economic win and a slight political win. All of these things leading into stability for the European Union finally winning because it becomes more stable. We have three main lines of argumentation. First of all, I'm going to talk about the way to fix the euro crisis. Second of all, I'm going to talk about foreign policy. And third of all, Raluca will talk to you about the guarantee for the future. Let's see about our first argument, about the euro crisis. We believe that the European Union is now going better than ever. Now, this isn't in such a great point, but it is better than it has ever been. Why? Because we believe that we have been having stable policies for the past 10 years, because Chancellor Angela Merkel was in function. We believe that, for example, we talk about austerity. When we talk about austerity, we also have to talk about her small steps policy. The fact that what she imposes to countries is that you have to, she goes to a country and tells them you have to impose austerity for a certain period of time in order for us to give you a bailout, in order for us to help you with money, in order for us to help you with your economic crisis. Thank you. We believe that by imposing this small steps policy along with controlling this austerity in the countries is a good thing. Because in the moment when you impose a long-term solution such as austerity, we believe that it is very good to have a chancellor that has been in function for over a decade in order to actually regulate this austerity the way it was supposed to be implemented from the beginning. Because this is a long-term solution. It doesn't work at first, but we see that the problems are solved. Even more than that, we already talked about bailouts, but more than that, we talk about like what Chancellor Angela Merkel did for Greece, for example, when another condition bailout was actually buying islands from Greece. We believe that this is fair as well, because what Angela Merkel does is that she wants to keep all of these economies into the Eurozone in order to actually preserve the stability. She's holding on to the Eurozone, and this is my next point. She's holding on to the Eurozone. Even if this were to be for selfish reasons, like she wants to help the euro in order to help Germany, we do not care. We believe that if she does help the other countries while also helping Germany, then this is a definite win. And what countries do we talk about? We talk about the Mediterranean economies or the PIGS economies, like for example Portugal, Italy, and Greece, for example. We believe that she can only help these countries if she is in the position of chancellor, as she has a third win. No, thank you. Now we see that furthermore, the alternative to Merkel would be like getting rid of these countries from the Eurozone in order to exactly what her opposition wanted. Why don't we want to keep these countries out of the Eurozone? Because we want the Eurozone to stabilize. We believe that how the Eurozone stabilizes is through these policies that Angela Merkel has been doing for the past decade. Yes.
And at the same time, she imposes this policy that had only worked in her own country, which is totally different from the perspective of fiscal policies and so on.
Okay, it doesn't matter. This is all for a longer goal of actually, even if the whole goal is to make all the countries like Germany, this is the initial goal of the Eurozone. We believe that the Eurozone can only fully function, it can only properly function, if all the economies involved in the Eurozone are developed the same. We believe that what Angela Merkel does is perfectly justified in order to actually bring the countries to the same economic level, even through austerity and even through these forced bailouts. We consider this an economic win because we talk about stability when we talk about austerity and about the bailouts. Let's see about my second point, about foreign policy. We believe that Angela Merkel represents the image of the European Union. She is the long-standing image of what the European Union stands for. She is a leader, and leaders usually have a lot of influence, and this is the case of Angela Merkel. She has an influence in the UK and an influence in the US and the rest of the world. Let's talk about the influence in the UK. Prime Minister David Cameron actually declared that in the 2015 referendum that they have to hold in order for the UK to see if they were to be in the European Union anymore, if Chancellor Angela Merkel would actually get the win, then the people in the UK would actually be more prone to voting yes and actually remaining in the European Union. Why is the UK staying in the European Union? Because of what Germany has in its leadership. Because we believe that the UK represents, first of all, a country that is not in the Eurozone, so we can counterbalance what France and Germany do for the Eurozone in the whole European Union, because it isn't a country that is dependent on the Euro, and it has its own, it has the most powerful money in the European Union. We believe that what they do is that what the UK does is they stop the Germany and the Germanic and French influences from actually passing through. Now, furthermore, on the US point, even though her phone was tapped and even though she doesn't have such great communication with President Barack Obama, we believe that her relation is still okay, because she is the only leader in the European Union that actually has access to this kind of influence. Because when we talk about foreign policy at a global level, we talk about the United States and the friends of the United States. We believe that what we want to achieve through this stability that we have been talking about is everyone growing with a stable leader, the European Union growing with a stable leader, and we have these things like, for example, we have the superpower of what the United States represents, and we also want to have the European Union as a superpower. We believe that we can only achieve this if we have Angela Merkel in order to lead the European Union furthermore. We believe that only through the stability that she can bring to the European Union, that being the fact her fiscal policies and all of these things, then we can have this true foreign policy and this true influence of a leader as the image that she represents. We believe that we have this counterbalance that she represents for France and Germany. Let's see what I have been telling to you today. First of all, I have been telling you that Angela Merkel is a good choice for the European Union in its leadership and for the fact that she can bring total stability for the Union. Second of all, I have been talking about the fact that her policies, like for example austerity and step-by-steps, are a smarter way to do bailouts and a smarter way to actually achieve stability within the Union, all the while helping the smaller economies develop. And third of all, I have been talking about the foreign policy of Angela Merkel and the fact that she has a long-standing image, a lot of influence, and she can influence countries like the United Kingdom and like the US, and we can help the European Union grow into this cohesive leadership, because when you have a leader that has been in power for such a long time, then all the countries in the European Union will want to follow this, and will want to also have the leaders in place in order to actually put forward these kinds of policies. At the end of the day, I hope that through economic win and through political win leading into stability, you will propose the motion.
Thank you, Speaker. And now on the first speaker of the opposition.
Ladies and gentlemen, the European Union is a union for a reason. It does not need a leader from the shadows. It does not need someone with such influence that it overwhelms all kinds of decisions, and someone like Angela Merkel who pushes her own decisions on the table and fixes solutions all by herself. Today we believe that that a third win for Angela Merkel is not a third win for the European Union. And before moving on to our own case, we are going to look at what team proposition has brought forward to the table. Now we have had through this debate two main arguments. The first about the crisis and the second about Germany's foreign policy. Now let's see on the crisis point. They say that now the European Union is better than ever. But we tend to disagree, because we see that all over Europe unemployment rates are getting higher and higher. Greece is in a situation, and it is in a dire situation. It is at a point where its economy cannot be revived because of Angela Merkel's decision, but this I'm going to evolve in my own case. And we see that Greece now even needs another bailout. that what she has done is not good. Now, they have said today that Merkel has experience, and it's good for a long-term solution. But we see that experience does not guarantee quality. Experience does not guarantee that a solution that you take is a good one. Experience doesn't guarantee nothing, and we believe that going from this assumption is something wrong. Also, they have talked to us about the measures that Angela Merkel used in order to save countries like Greece, like Spain, like Portugal, and so on and so forth. But we see that when Angela Merkel took these measures, she was thinking in Germany's own interest. She wasn't thinking in the European Union, no thank you's interest. And this is bad because we see that this is not a win for the European Union. Now, no thank you. Also, she says that you can only help these countries, Angela Merkel can only help these countries if she's a chancellor, which is totally false. Angela Merkel could help these countries, for example, if she was elected as a leader of other European organizations which are existing at the moment. For example, the European Commission, the European Parliament, so on and so forth. And we believe that this is false. Now, they have also said that the only way for the Eurozone to revive is if you apply austerity and if you apply the same thing you apply in Germany. But we believe that this is not false. Because first of all, Germany and the big countries are very different cases. And second of all, we see that there are other measures that are better for solving the crisis, no thank you, which I'm going to show to you in my own case. Now, their second argument about foreign policy. They said that Angela Merkel is a leader with influence. But we see that influence is not always good. Because when you are influenced, all of your decisions pass through. And all of your decisions aren't contested, no thank you, because you have so much authority. But this I'm going to evolve in my own case. They have brought up the point with David Cameron, which said that if a win for Angela Merkel will cause UK to remain in the European Union and so on. So what they didn't mention is that David Cameron will agree with Angela Merkel only if she implements some reforms that give states more authority in the European Union and give more power to national states. So we see that if Angela Merkel doesn't apply these reforms, which first of all she didn't say at one point that she's going to apply them, and second of all other Eurozone and other European countries won't agree to these kind of reforms, if these things won't happen, that means that it changes nothing with the relationship with UK. And they have brought to us again the relationship with US. But we said, first of all, in her second term, Angela Merkel ignored all kinds of foreign policy relations, and she based her whole term on solving the crisis and on Germany's interest. And second of all, Angela Merkel's relationship with the US was hindered by the NSA scandal and by the fact that they were listening to her phone, and this was very upsetting to her. But now moving on to our own case, and we see that because of Angela Merkel's power, people are prone to agree to her strategies and to not contest them. And we believe that this is not good in a European Union when you're meant to have more countries that take decisions together. Now, our case is going to have two major arguments. The first one about managing power, and the second one about step by step in no direction, which is going to be presented by my second column. Now, about managing power, I'm going to divide this in two major points. First of all, I'm going to talk about Merkel's power and how big it is. And second, I'm going to talk about how she uses this power through her economic measures. Now, on our first point about Merkel's powers, we said her decision is in fact Europe's decision, because Germany is at the moment Europe's biggest economy, and we see that Merkel's ties with other Eurozone leaders like France, like Italy, and so on and so forth, make her so powerful and make her so influential, and make them agree with her as well. And there's also the moral hazard point, because people rely way too much on her because of this influence. People tend to agree and not contest every decision of her, and we said she has so much credibility that no solution that she gives is contested, and everyone takes what she says as a good thing, as a given. I believe that this is not okay, because I'm going to prove no thank you in my second point about why her decisions are not so good. Now let's move on to the economic measures that she has taken. First of all, we said Merkel was against one very very good thing to solve the euro crisis, which were euro bonds. We see that euro bonds are loans given from a country to another with fixed interest. For example, let's take a simple analogy. Germany gives money to Greece. And this is good for both Greece and Germany because, first of all, Greece will have money to invest and to make out profit. Because investment is the best way to get out of a crisis. And Germany will be able to receive back the money because Greece will have profit and will be able to help out furthermore. And we said in this way, both Greece and Germany are on a plus side. And no, thank you. And Greece will be able to make investments and will be able to recover its economy. Now, I'm going to explain why austerity, but instead she chose to implement austerity, which is basically a bigger slice of a smaller pie. Bigger taxes, lower wages, fewer workplaces, which actually mean less money and less jobs to use in the economy, to use for investments, to use for buying stuff, that returns taxes back to the state, which does not result in a GDP growth, which does not result in a lowering of the debt to the GDP ratio, which is a problem here. And we see that in Germany it worked, but we said these cases are very different, and you cannot apply the same treatment for two very, very different cases. And we said now Greece's economy has shrunken by 25%. Its youth unemployment is 70%, and it is civil unrest. People hate Merkel. People go and protest against Merkel and say she is, and say bad things about her. And we said in Poland there were no austerity implemented, but instead they invested, and this way it had GDP growth. So for austerity, we have citizens that are hurt, which is illegitimate. It is illegitimate to hurt citizens just because Angela Merkel took a decision that was bad. So we said at the end of the day, because she's so influential, because she doesn't make such good decisions, Angela Merkel's win is not a win for the European Union.
Thank the speaker. And now, I invite the second speaker from the European side.
Correct. Mrs. Merkel often adds a statistic. Europe has 7% of the world population, 25% of its output, and 50% of its welfare spending. That is her way of warning that the status quo might not be feasible for too long. Now, I'm going to divide my speech into main points. First of all, I'm going to talk about policies and foreign policy, and second of all, I'm going to get into my own substantive point, which is called guarantee for the future, where I'm going to talk further about stability. But before that, I want to clarify something. Because the opposition brings up this idea of, we don't really need a leader from the shadows. What we believe is that we're not debating about that. Why? Because even if there wasn't Angela Merkel, there would be some ideas from Germany. This is how the European Union works, because Germany has too big of a power in the European Union. So what we're talking about today is not whether or not we should have a leader in the shadows, but whether or not Angela Merkel is the best leader from the shadows that we can have. So, no thanks, ma'am. So, first point, policies and foreign policy. And here I'm going to get a little bit to the policies that we have mentioned before, and I'm going to explain how exactly Angela Merkel's policies were a really, really good idea, and they really worked out. So, first of all, austerity. Because what we told you today is that austerity is a long-term solution. And the opposition's rebuttal of this was, it could have worked with Eurobonds. Well, what we're saying this is, it couldn't have worked with Eurobonds. Like, look at Greece. The corruption in Greece was way too big. When we gave them these kinds of bonds, they would never make enough profit because the corruption there would make taxpayers not pay their taxes anymore, which is exactly why Greece got into recession in the first place. So, because of this, Greece wouldn't have had enough profit to give back to the European Union, so Eurobonds wouldn't have really worked. Instead, what Angela Merkel decided to do was to implement austerity, but to implement it through this small steps policy. How? Well, she said, well, we're going to give you a bailout, we're going to help you, only if you implement this kind of austerity in a certain amount of time. No, thank you, ma'am. So what happened was, Greece implemented austerity and they got a bailout. And this happened, like, they had enough money to get back on the proper wavelength because they had the money coming from austerity and they would help the European Union still have UK in the future. And Timo Position said that her decisions are not contested and so on. But what we're telling you here is that when David Cameron said that he wanted Miss Angela Merkel to win, was not because he had some kind of interest in her policies, but because he had an interest in him being re-elected again. And if no, thank you, ma'am. So statistics show that in the moment when the UK would still be in the European Union and when people would vote yes at the referendum, that's the moment when David Cameron will be most likely to be elected in the future. Therefore, David Cameron has this incentive to support Ms. Merkel and not another kind of incentive. For him, the most important thing is to be elected in the future. And this is what we believe is very important for the UK staying in the European Union. But why exactly do we want the UK in the European Union? Well, for two main reasons. First of all, because it has to pay for the European Union a part of its GDP. And that GDP is really big, and therefore there is a lot of money going to the European Union from the UK. Second of all, because of the immigration policy. And we say that because the UK is very anti-immigration, in the moment when it goes out of the European Union, its immigration policies would be completely against immigration. But because right now it is in the European Union, it lets immigrants come to that country because of the policies of the European Union. And you see that the problem with this is that there are a lot of people going to the UK, like students and so on, from the rest of the European Union. And therefore there would be a big problem if the UK wouldn't admit immigrants anymore. So this is why we want to still keep UK in the European Union. Now, about the USA. And what we're saying here is that from Angela Merkel, it is far more important to keep up her ties with the USA than just get really sad because they listen to her phones. Why? Because right now the international scene is USA and its friends. And Angela Merkel wants the European Union to be really powerful in the European scene in order to have a lot of influence. So it's a win for the European Union to have the influence by staying friends with the USA. Therefore, we say that no, this whole thing about listening to her phone is not such a big deal. No, thank you. Now, next thing here is that the opposition tells us that she's doing a lot of things for Germany. Okay, so what? We believe that in a moment when she does things for Germany, as long as they're also good for the European Union, we don't have any problem with that. She might have any incentive there is. As long as she's helping the European Union, that's okay. Okay, and next thing. Okay, the moral hazard. The people don't trust her too much and she might make a lot of mistakes. What we believe is that when Angela Merkel wants to pass some kind of policy, she talks to a lot of economists. And there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of debate before actually passing these policies. So there's a really small chance for her to actually make such a big mistake. So this is what we believe. We believe that we believe that because of this, the risk of making a huge mistake just because a lot of states trust her is really low. All right, now let's get to my most exciting point, the guarantee for the future. Here we talk again about stability. You see that Angela Merkel is very important in the international community because after 2 terms she has helped the European Union a lot. So she's really important. She's really nicely seen. So because of this, a 3rd term would mean for the European Union further political and economic stability. Let's look at both. First of all, political stability. You see that when you have a leader that was there for so long, the leader changed a lot of things. All the countries changed their policies according to what Angela Merkel wanted them to do. And what we're saying here is that because of this, all the states started to become more cohesive in their policies, and therefore the states started to have their policies started to be the same. On the point of economic stability, we look at austerity, because austerity is a long-term solution. It's a long-term solution because at first it doesn't work, there's not a lot of profit, but in time there's a lot of money that adds up in order to have that step. So when it comes to austerity, we really need a leader for a long time because on this point, austerity has to go from the first moment to the last moment to the same policies in order to work properly. So, from these 2 points of view, we see that the European Union is way more cohesive because we have Angela Merkel, we have a lot more political and economic stability, and therefore there's a win for the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now we invite the second speaker from the opposition.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to structure my speech in 3 major points. First of all, we are going to take a look at the policies Merkel implemented in her previous mandates as a chancellor and the measures she has taken and imposed on other countries as well as in her own country. A smaller point about foreign policies and how those work and what the impact they have. And the third point, which is my own argument, which is called step by step, direction, which I'm going to take a look at the future and why the European Union simply isn't going anywhere with Merkel at helm, and why the negative impact in the future will still be there. But now, first of all, about the policies. I'm first going to talk about what they told us that Merkel does good. I'm going to tackle each and every point and prove you that those measures really aren't that good. And then I'm going to analyze more into our own sustaining about why those measures were that bad. So what they told us exactly was that Europe is better than ever. Well, we really do not see that. We see higher unemployment rates than ever. We see Greece on the edge of failing and of insolvency, of bankruptcy. We see that Greece, Portugal, Italy, Spain, Ireland, no thank you, need more help than ever. We see that all those bailouts simply didn't work. We see that austerity proved to be more harmful than helpful in Greece and so on. We see that there was simply no end to all these measures. They also told us that by austerity, she managed to make sure that those countries respected some conditions. Well, I'm going to tell you something about austerity. Austerity, as my colleague said, is simply a bigger slice of a smaller pie. What does that mean? It means that you ask for more from someone who you give less to. If you are going to not have so many jobs, if you are going to leave so many people unemployed, but at the same time, I'm going to ask for taxes, and all those things come to the state, it simply isn't working. It's a vicious circle, because once you implement austerity, you are not going to stop anywhere. You are still going to need more money, but you are not having where to get those from, because the money you are giving to the population and the jobs they have simply aren't there anymore. So if you are going to implement austerity, you have to make sure that austerity can be implemented. And you know what? Yes, it worked in Germany. Yes, in Angela Merkel's reform, economic reform in Germany in 2009, it worked because she applied an austerity with much lighter measures, because Germany was a much stronger economy back then, because they had invested and investment in Germany at that time, because so many companies could support losing some of the jobs and still give more money to the state, because the economy was simply stronger, and they had the fiscal policies necessary to implement that. What Merkel did was to come and say, well, you do that too, because I say so. And we believe that simply isn't right, isn't fair, both to the citizens in those countries who were deeply affected and to the country itself. They also told us that, well, Merkel helped, used her position to help all these countries. No, thank you. Well, we believe that she tried to help, but her solution was by far not the best one.